All right. So today our focus is going to be network stuff. So yesterday we created Jane Doe, John Doe, and our goal was to migrate Jane Doe and John Doe to our domain computer, and then to just prove that the migration actually worked. So really, we just had to create the two accounts, change the desktop, and put a custom picture and a custom text into their respective folders, the photos in the documents folder, migrate them over, and then verify they moved. That was the task, the goal of yesterday. Now, there was other stuff in the video I was showing you, but the main goal was just to do that. And I was just trying to show you the error messages and the different ways that we can do stuff and type stuff and little shortcuts that I know and share those with you. So today, our focus is going to be, of course, it was the day 2 with T-Rex. So hands-on with T-Rex, daily screenshots with Instructor, hands-on day 2. So by the end of this day, you can see I have all your guys' names in here for a reason. We're going to have this stuff done. So we'll have an about screenshot, which is going to show that we're actually domain joined. So that's why we named this computer domain, is we're going to domain join it. But there's a few things that we need to know when we do that. So I don't think this is going to let me scroll down all the way. I think I have to download it for this to show me everything. Yeah, it's not letting me scroll it down. Well, I'll show you guys in a little bit. So our main thing on this, the domain join, there's things that we need to do. We need to be on the right network. We need to be communicating. We need to have the DNS set properly. So these are all things that we are going to have to know how to do. And I'm just making sure, yep, we are recording. So, and our goal is so that you guys will be able to do this on your own for the exam. So flipping down here on the exam, we have Domania, which just means, we're domain joining. So yesterday we did migration. So I'll put your guys' names in here and replace these old ones in here. You guys can't see this yet, but I'll give you information. I'll give you the domain name, the server name, and it says server has an Active Directory domain services and DNS on it. Server IP address 10.10.10.1. This is going to be exactly the same as what we do now. And we're going to tell you that the subnet mask is a class A. So this is the exact same information that I'm going to be giving you on the other one. And this actually does have, all right, I don't see it on here, but I have the example. So the other one, I believe the example will show you everything. So let me go back to here. So let's just get started. So when we're joining a domain, we need some information, right? So I give you that information on here on our daily screenshot day 2. So here I give it to you in a different wording, but it's exactly the same. On your exam, I say a class A subnet mask. Well, class A subnet mask is 255.0.0.0, correct? So I'm just using different terminology that means the same thing. So I'm telling you in this information here that the domain equals sandbox.local. So that is our domain name right there. The server that the domain is on is domain-server. Its IP address is 10.10.10.1. The subnet mask of that network is 255.0.0.0. And that has a DNS and a default gateway, creds for the domain. So to log in, I have student@sandbox.local, and the password is server123 !. So those are the credentials you would use for joining the domain. So let me just make sure. I'm going to try to download this really quick because this should actually have more stuff in this picture when I was looking at it yesterday. But this does show everything that we need to know. So once you have downloaded and proof that you have actually connected to the domain and done everything, the reason why it's this picture is you'll see right here, it says the device name. In this example, it's SLS-domain. Full description name, SLS-domain.sandbox.local. Processor, it's got my processor, it's got the RAM, but the main things I'm looking for on that screenshot is that, hey, that's the name of your computer, and it is part of the sandbox.local domain. So that's proof that you have joined the domain. If you don't do all these steps that I'm about to show you, it's not going to be possible for you to join the domain in the first place. So This is just proof, hey, this would not work if I did not do all the previous steps. So we're going to go in there and start doing this. And this should be a little bit quicker than yesterday, but we're going to go through a few things and use some tools and stuff. So remember, I'm going to show you more stuff than you need to know to accomplish this task. Your job is to accomplish this task. Join the domain and give me the screenshot. That's going to be your task for this. So let's get started. So first thing is we don't really need our workstation one anymore. So let me make this full screen. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to turn off the workstation one. We're done with that. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to tell it to shut down. Shutdown should shut it down properly. So we should see that if I double click on it, it should be shutting it down at this point. I don't need to connect like that. So remember, this is like a KVM. So this window right here, just think of it as a keyboard, video, mouse. This is how we're actually connecting to that computer. But whether this is X'd out or not, it is still running in the background. It's just like you're turning off your monitor and disconnecting your keyboard and mouse and how you're talking with it. So if you're messing up on stuff when you're installing these and you just keep doing this and open it up, like, why is it still running? Well, you didn't close it. It's still running right here in the background. So my domain one is still up and running here. And I'm still logged in where I was showing you the John Doe screenshot. So to do everything that we're going to do today, we're going to want to flip over to our admin account. Because remember, John Doe and Jane Doe are not administrators, and they can't use enhanced session. So hopefully we remember those facts about those two users. They were just test users. So I'm going to log out of this really quick. I could just switch over, but let's save some resources. And I'm just going to sign out. I think Jane Doe is still signed in, but because I left her in, but I'll kill her when I get over to the administrator. I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, looks like my mouse is acting goofy. There we go. So I'm going to go to admin. If you forgot, should be server 123 at exclamation point, and my typing is not working right now. So let's see what's going on here. There we go. Major just lagged. Something's. All right. Hey, computer, what are you doing? That's always awesome. See, you're trying to show people stuff just goes wrong, right? Now it's acting like I was on that one. All right, I think like there's a key stuck or something here. Let's see, do I have a key stuck? All right, that's interesting. Give me a second. There's a key stuck or something in the virtual machine. Let me make sure it's just the virtual machine, or maybe there actually is a key stuck. No, there's not actually a key stuck. The virtual machine's just acting goofy. All right, give me 1 second here. Well, someone's messing with it. Hopefully no one in the class is messing with it right now. Reconnect to it. It's always something fun, right, guys? All right, let's see. Are we still acting goofy? Looking okay now. All right. We'll find out. We'll find out. Control A that, delete it. All right. All right. Back on track, I think. Come on. I think it's official. Do not disturb does not work. All right. So I've given us this information in this assignment right here. So what we do know is that our domain is sandbox.local. Our server name is domain server, and it's on the 10.10.10.1. So I think the first thing we want to know is, who am I? What am I? So we're going to figure out who we are in relationship to the network. That's the first thing. As you notice here, it says your static IP. Well, I say, not says. Let's use proper terminology, words, English. Your static IP address is 10.0.1.xx. XX is the number of your name. So you see all of your names here, and there's a number next to you. So that would mean 10.0.1, and for Deshaun, it would be .1. So he'd be 1.1. Tony would be 1.2. Michael Cox would be 1.3, and so on. That would be the static IP address assigned to you. Now, because our subnet mask is 255, our 10, our first octet, is locked. But the 0 means we can use this octet, and this octet. We have full use of these from 0 to 255. So that's what that means on the subnet mask, is we've locked this, because 255 is all the bits being used. So we lock that to network. We have full use of all of this up to 56. 56 is actually our broadcast, right? So we have our network and broadcast. So that lets us hand out all of those numbers right there to everybody. So we're going to show that right now. So let's go back. Let me minimize this. All right. So what's a tool that we can use to figure out who am I on the network right now? Feel free to respond. Yes, ipconfig. ipconfig. So let's run it. And I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to do CLS to keep my screen clear for you guys. And I'm just going to go to root, so we're not seeing the user admin stuff. So CD / will take me to root. Should probably do that first and then clear my screen. Zoom in. So ipconfig, just basics, going to tell me some information I need. So it tells me that my IP address is 192.0.0.125. This is kind of, it's a weird, because I have it set up kind of it's a class C with a class A subnet mask. So it does give me some problems over here. There's some websites I can't go to, but I just had it open. I need to fix it so that the DHCP is only handing out a standard class C. But for now, it's 192.0.0.125 is my IP address on this computer. So since we know we need to be, that first octet needs to be 10, I'm on the complete wrong network, right? Subnet mask is right. And the default gateway is, it's going to be wrong, because we're going to set the default gateway to the server. But this is also, you can't see it right here right now. So I need to do ipconfig/all, and that'll give me all the information I need to know. So now it's telling me that my host name, my node type is hybrid, IP routing enabled, no, WINS proxy enabled, no, DNS suffix, blocksofknowledge.com. So that's what I'm giving out on my computer right now. That's one of my servers on here. So coming on down, it's telling us the DHCP is enabled. That's something to know. Our DHCP is getting this IP address automatically. So we're going to hard set this to point somewhere else. So right now, if I wanted to join the domain, it would not work. So I'm going to close this for right now. I'm going to flip over to my other screen here and pull this over. So we know our domain is going to be sandbox.local. So we're going to try and put this information in how you would normally join the domain. And we'll see if it works. It shouldn't work. But, this thing's been calling me a liar all week. So let's see. So to join the domain, we're just going to go to System Properties. So you remember that About screen where we have the advanced and where we change our computer name? That's where we join the domain. I'm just going to scroll down to About here. And right here, I'm just going to go to where it says to rename this computer, Advanced. That's the same place where we can join the domain. And right here, it says to rename the computer or change its domain or work group, click Change. So this is where we're going, and this is in the System Properties right there. And we're just going to try and type this in really quick. So our identity on our NetBIOS name that we picked yesterday, mine's AMSLS-domain, because when we did it this way, it actually told us we couldn't do 15 characters. When we changed our name with the start menu option, it let us do it, but then later we had a problem, right? So it gave us something goofy on the workstation one. So today, we're just going to type in the domain here and see if it'll even talk to it and let us join it. It should not, because we're not on the proper domain. So it is sandbox.local. And if our network were set correctly, we would be able to join it. And you see right away, I have an error message. This is because I'm on the wrong network. So it can't even talk to it. So it says it can't see it, it can't talk to it, it's not there, and it's going to put it in the dcdiag.txt file in the Windows debug. And pretty much it doesn't exist. DNS name does not exist because it's not talking to it. So we're going to go up and we're going to put this information in one at a time so you guys can see that we need everything, all our stars need to align for us to actually join that domain. So I'm going to come over here to Network and Internet Access, and I'm just going to take the shortcut there and go to Open Network and Internet Settings. That's going to bring this up, and I'm going to go straight to Change Adapter Options. You could also click on Ethernet and change adapter options. So it's got the same option on both screens there. And we should see our network adapter when this opens up. There we go. So we have our Ethernet network adapter right here. So we're going to go in here and we are going to hard set everything. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go to Properties. You can also double click it and it'll go to Properties also. Same thing in here. We're going to go to IPv4. So Internet Protocol version 4 is IPv4. That's what we're going to click on and go to Properties. You can click on it and click on Properties, or you can double click it and it should go to Properties also. So here we'll say it says obtain an IP address automatically. That's DHCP. And same with obtain DNS server address automatically. That's also DHCP. So we're going to go use the following IP address. So taking our information over here. Why is it not going in front of everything? There we go. I'm telling you guys that your static IP address is 10.0.1. The number beside you. So since I don't have a name in here, I am going to take .20. So I'm going to be 10.0.1.20. Okay, just for these purposes here. So that's going to be my static IP. So I'm going to be number lock. I love number lock. It's my best friend. So 10.0.1.20. That's what I'm allocating for myself as a static IP address. Our subnet mask needs to be 255.0.0.0. So it knows I'm using a class A, so it's assuming I'm going to use a class A subnet mask. The default gateway is going to be the server. Remember, the information I gave you for the server is right here. And the server is 10.10.10.1. That's the server. That's its identity on the network. So as you see, I say server has DNS, default gateway. The creds for the server are here to join it. So I'm going to flip over here. So for the default gateway, we are just going to use the server for now. we're going to say 10.10.10.1. So when I'm building networks, I kind of like to use class A, and I like to divide up what my stuff is and where it is by how I hand out IP addresses. So in this case, I like .1 to be my workstations. For servers, I did 10 for my server. So anything that's a server. And say if I have printers and stuff, I put them on their own too. So I know like .1, .5 is a printer, or I can break up rooms. So classroom 1 could be .1, 2 could be .3. Over here could be different locations, your .0. So whatever makes it easier for you organize your network when you're building it, so you know what's what when you see it. You can use programs like Advanced IP to scan your network and stuff. So for right now, our gateway is the server. So the server should let us have internet and stuff if it has NAT set up on it, where it can do network address translation and give us internet. So remember, a gateway is what lets you get outside of your network. So it connects two different networks. It's the door, it's the gate. So if you want to get from inside your network, which is a LAN, local area network, which think of that as inside your house, and then everything else outside is your WAN, the street in front of your house, the highway, all of that is your WAN. So you need a way to open that door and get in and out safely. So that's what the gateway is. So usually your gateway is going to be your router or some other computer that's handling it. Maybe your DMZ is handling it, and you're routing through your DMZ and it's filtering stuff and switching port numbers around just to protect your network from people trying to hit known port numbers inside your network. So, but keeping it simple right now, we're just going to use the main server for that for now. So for your home, you probably have like 192.168.0.1, which is probably pointing to your router or your modem. So for our purposes, 10.10.10.1 is it's the one server I set up just for this exercise. It's actually running on this computer here. It's not running on your virtual server. So you're doing everything how you would do this in the field. Just because these are in virtual machines don't mean this is any different than what you would be doing in the classroom. This is exactly what you'd be doing in the classroom, exactly what you'd be doing sitting behind someone's workstation, setting it up. Everything's communicating properly. Nothing is fake. Nothing is being simulated right now. This is all legitimate, real software being used. So I'm not going to put the DNS server right now, just so you can see that's how important it is to have the DNS in there. So I'm just going to hit OK for now. I'm going to OK and save these settings. Now, to make sure I have those, waiting for that, it's identifying, it's just said network 2. Something might pop up here that says, hey, do I want network discovery on? We're always going to say yes for that, unless we're like at Starbucks or something on Wi-Fi. So as you can see, though, I do not have internet now. So there is no internet on this computer now because I probably don't have NAT set up. Don't worry, you're not supposed to have internet. All right. So I'm going to go back and here, we'll do it the other way. So can I do the Windows? Yeah, so do Windows R, which will bring up my run, and I can type CMD. And that's going to bring my command prompt if I want. So this is just another way to navigate. Again, I just hit the Windows button and hit R, and that brings up your run window. You can also do PowerShell, and it'll open up PowerShell. So there's many ways we can open and get into stuff in a computer, shortcuts. So I'm going to do the CLS in here. That still clears the screen in here. And of course, I'm doing this out of order. CD/root CLS, clear my screen. And I should be able to zoom into this so you can see it better. Now we'll do IP config, and we should see the basic settings I just did. So I have 10.0.1.20. So that's showing me, yes, that it took that. My subnet mask 255.0.0.0, and my default gateway is 10.10.10.1. So one reason why why I might not have internet is because I don't have the DNS in there. So remember, DNS is kind of like our translator for two different languages. It's converting English to Spanish. Think of it that way. I don't speak Spanish, and maybe the guy who speaks Spanish doesn't speak English, and it's translating. The computer only knows IP, only knows binary, only knows numbers. And for me, I only know alphabet, right? I know names, I know letters. I don't know what all these numbers mean, but the computer does. So it's going to translate addresses into names for me, and it's going to translate my names into numbers for the computer to understand where something lives. That's the whole point of the DNS. It's your phone book. So if it can't open up the phone book and see where that address is and see where that name is, it's not going to know who you're trying to talk to. So later on, when we do server classes, you're going to have forward lookups, reverse lookups, so that it knows to look at another DNS to get information that you're looking for outside of your network or in your network. So right now, we have no DNS set up. So if I come over here and I hit OK, it's still going to have a problem, right? Because it's like, who is this? And once again, it's going to say DNS. So if we read this, it says DNS was queried from the service location SRV, and then it's going to say it couldn't find it. So verifying this computer is connected to the network, that these are the correct DNS server IP addresses, and that at least one of the DNS servers is running. So having that DNS server correctly is very, very important. Now, our default gateway is not so important. Our default gateway, the main cause would be, hey, our internet's not working, but everything else is working. So the gateway is how we get outside of our network. Our IP address is who we are on our network. So if we weren't like a 10.0.0.0 IP address, if we're like an 11.0.0.0 IP address, we would not be able to see these resources or anything. Just like when we were on 192.0.0.0 Class A subnet mask, we weren't able to see it. So next, I'm going to put in that proper information for the DNS. So I'm going to go over to properties here. And we're going to go to IPv4 again. And now we're going to put in the DNS. So the DNS for that server was 10.10.10.1. It's the same as what we put into default gateway, right? So I'm going to put 10.10.10.1. And I'm just going to hit OK for now. If I come over here and hit OK, it's taking a little bit longer to give me the middle finger, right? Before it was like, hey, middle fingers in the air, I just don't care. Now it's asking me for credentials. So again, pulling this over here, my credentials, creds for domain, student at sandbox.local, right? And then server 123 at exclamation point. So those are the credentials. And I was kind of mean to you. You see right here, there's a cursor in between password. That's because this is a picture. You can't copy and paste it. You're gonna have to type. Because I thought of that. All right. Coming over here. Student and at sandbox.local. If you can type, I can't. And then our typical server 123 at exclamation point. Again, we're just using that just for simplicity, so we can use the same thing over and over. And server 123 at exclamation looks like it's correct. So hopefully, if my server's working correctly and everything's happy, joy, we can hit OK here, and it should say welcome to the students, to the sandbox domain. And it says it right there. Welcome to sandbox.local domain. So I'm going to hit OK there, and then OK right here. And when I close it, it's going to be exactly like when we changed our computer name, right? When I close it, it's going to say, okay, you must restart your computer to apply these changes. So we can hit restart now. It says other people are logged onto this computer. I don't care. Go away. That's Jane Doe. I didn't log her out, remember? And it's saying John restarted. That's funny. If you all recall, I was logged in as admin. So Microsoft, we love you. Just work how you're supposed to. Hopefully I haven't lost anyone yet. Is this helping you guys understand like what DNS does and default gateway and the subnet mask? I mean, what the subnet mask is actually doing for you? So I know it's kind of complicated. You know, they make it sound more complicated than it really is when you're in the book. So let me see if I can get this in front of everything. Come on. There we go. I'm dragging this from one screen to the other, trying to make sure it's in front. So again, the subnet mask right here, just think of it like, if anyone's familiar with photography, when you're masking out something, it's just so you can't see it. So in our case, we can't see anything that's not our number. Now, when we do subnetting, it's doing the same thing, but instead of being whole numbers, now it's chopping that up like a slice of pizza in the smaller numbers. So again, subnet mask is just, hey, if you're not my number and if you're not within my range, I can't see you. We're just breaking it up, keeping people in their own lane. So you can think of it like a 4-lane highway or a one-way road where you have to be in yours. All right, so at this point, this is restarted and it should be domain joined. So I'm going to flip this open really quick, full screen. And I'm going to click on other user because we wanted to do John by default, and it's ignoring Jane completely. Notice that? No Jane. So now we have to use a domain account to log in. In this case, I actually made one for you guys. So I have one on the domain. Oh, come on. Are you going to have typing issues again? No. Okay. It's going to be your first initial, last name, and then the server 123. I created that account for you guys last night. So mine, same thing, first initial, last name. I don't need to type at Sandbox because it already says signing into Sandbox here. Something to note, though, if you're using the administrator account, watch what happens. Watch when I hit the R. It changes to the local computer, right? So you see under here, it says AMSLS-domain. That's the name of this computer, right? So if you're trying to do that administrator of the domain, you would have to actually put the at the domain, right? So at Sandbox, I would have to do that. Now, what we have found out is you can just do at Sandbox. You don't have to put the designator at the end. Or you can just do the NetBIOS name. So if you've abbreviated it, I'll talk about this when we do the server class. But you can do it that way too to log in. See how it says sign in to Sandbox? So you can do Sandbox / the name. If you want to log into a local account, like Jane, we would do period / in front of it. Now you see how that changes signing into AMSLS domain at the very bottom instead of default into Sandbox. That's how he would do that. So if I wanted to do John and actually type his name here, I'd do period / and then JOHN and then type in his credentials right here. So again, this is for your notes. This isn't stuff you have to type or do. Just you can put this in your notes if you want to do that stuff. This is how you do it. I just want you to see it since I'm here at the screen. Because now instead of my computer handling my security, the server's handling my security. So I'm going to log into mine. First initial, last name. Let's see if I remember my password. And now it's actually going to create that account on this computer. Remember, we made 2 local accounts. We had Jane Doe, John Doe, and there's an admin account on the local account. But now I'm using a domain account. Now I'm using domain credentials to log in. So it's actually verifying my identity and giving me a single sign-on token from the domain server, which just happens to be the domain-server because I want to make it simple for you guys to understand on the naming of it. So, but if we don't have the DNS right, we don't have our IP address right, we're not going to be able to talk to it, and it's not going to work. There's going to be the main reasons why you can't talk to it. So what are some tools that we can use? So we use ipconfig to figure out what we are. But what could I have done to see if I had any communication with the domain server in the first place? Yes. Ping it. Ping it. Can I talk to it? Is it there? Does it exist? That's the first tool that I can use, whether it's Linux or Windows, whatever, Are you there? Are we talking? Do we have communication? Are you responding to me? If we can't ping it, we ain't going to be able to join it. It looks like our server is running really slow today. It almost seems like it's asking for a restart. All right. So now I am logged in. I'm going to give this a couple seconds here. I know I don't have network address translation turned on that. So don't expect to have internet inside your Windows 10 domain computer once you've domain joined. I deliberately don't have that on so these things don't try to pull updates. All right. So now that we're successfully in here, we're looking at 9:37. So I have a little bit more time. So I'm going to use the Windows R button. And that's going to open up run. And I'm just going to do the PowerShell this time. PowerShell. Pull it up. Again, I could have just done it over there. I'm not making any changes to my system, so there's no need for me to be an admin. CD / maybe. And then CLS, clear that screen really quick, and let me zoom in. So we know the name of the domain server, and we know the IP address of it. So if I ping the name, domain-server, yeah, who saw that coming? It's going to come back with its IP address for me. Now that domain server, see, it doesn't look like the proper IP address, though, does it? It has more than one network card on it. So it's got one that's given to internet, and it's got one that we have. So it just kicked back some weird IP address, right? It gave me 192.0.200.25. So let's see. Let's ping the actual known IP address, which was 10.10.10.1. So I do get a response from that. So I know I'm talking to it. But for some reason, it goes, hey, I'm using this one. That came back from its DNS, and the first network card that it's using that has internet is the one that gave us that 192.200.25. So sometimes you might get stuff back that you're not expecting to come back. That's because it's got more than one network card, the way that computer's set up to have internet and to be the domain controller. So it's got two networks, and it's kind of bridged in between. And if we wanted to, we can tell it to use network address translation and bridge those two networks together so we had access to that internet too by connecting to that computer. Again, I deliberately don't have that on right now just in case you guys do something goofy in here and mess up. I don't want you to take out my network. So you'll have access to take out my network in the next course. So let me zoom back out since that's a little bit too big there. So we did get a proper response. We had 0 lost packets. If I just ping something that I know is not on the network, let's say .99, this is what would happen if we had no communication. Destination host unreachable. So if we received that and we knew we had the right IP address, we had stuff in there, we think correctly, we're going to be like, okay, let's make sure that our wires are connected properly, that everything's talking right, that our subnet mask is correct. Go back and just double check our settings, right? So we can also do a trace route, right? So I'm going to go back to that one. Now, in Linux, you actually do complete trace route. In Windows, you do trace RT or trace cert, however you want to read that. And that'll actually show you every router hop in between. In our case, there shouldn't be any router hop. It's just going to go straight to it. And it does not show switches. So the trace cert or trace route, trace RT command does not show switches. So if you're tracing on a real network and it stops at a certain router, but it doesn't go beyond that router, then you know your problem could be a switch in there or it could be a router on the other side of that. That helps you kind of break down where your problem could be on a network. In our case, this is a virtual switch and there's no router in between. So it's going to say 1 hop, 7 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds, 7 milliseconds, domain server. Pretty quick. Now, again, that server is not actually on the virtual machine. It's not on your VMware server. That server is on the computer that I'm sitting at right now. So that's pretty quick for going across a regular network, right? So there is pretty much zero latency between that. Even on our ping, we're pretty quick and fast. So, and again, We're not going through any routers to talk to me. We're all on the same network on the same switch. Switches expand networks, routers connect networks and break them up, right? So we have collision domains, and then we break up collision domains. So hopefully some of this terminology is refreshing some of your Network Plus and stuff. But I want you to kind of see hands-on what this stuff looks like, a cause and effect. So let me go, and I'm going to break the DNS on this really quick, okay? I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to break it. I'm going to come in through here, open my network, because it's, for me, that's the easiest. It's always there, right? No matter what I do, that's always going to be right here for me to get to my network. So show available networks is going to show you, like if you had Wi-Fi and everything, it'll show everything, or it'll show all your other Ethernet connections if you have more than one. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to break that DNS really quick. Now, there's a good chance it might still work. Now, you see right here where it says sandbox.local? If you turn your computer on and you know this has worked before, like you know that you have already connected to the server, you haven't made any changes, and that just says unknown network, or it doesn't say your domain name, click on this, go disable this network device, enable it, and there's a good chance that'll fix it. It'll say what it's supposed to. Hyper-V is notorious for breaking its virtual network adapter in your Hyper-V. Whenever you restart your computer or turn it off and turn it on, the Hyper-V. It especially does it if you have a domain controller on it. It will break it almost every freaking time you restart your computer. So you have to go in there and do it, or set a script to just, reset it and turn it on. What happens is it's probably trying to turn it on so fast that it's not ready to go and it gets locked up. I'm going to purposely go in there and break that really quick. Properties. You don't have to do this. If you're watching the video, you don't have to do this part. You can if you want to. I'm going to break this right here. And I'm going to put Google's DNS right there. That's Google's DNS. Fast DNS is 1.1.1.1. These are external deep DNSs that are outside on the internet right there. Now, this might have a DNS cached in my system right now, so it might still work. So let me hit close. I'm just going to minimize that so I don't need to take the long way around next time. And remember, we can use the R, and it's going to save what I had in there previously. So that's Windows and the R key. Let me do CD backslash. Let's do this in order this time, and then CLS to clear my screen. Now I'm going to ping 10.10.10.1. That should still work. So why should that still work? Who's got an answer for me? So I'm pinging the IP address. Why does that work? What does DNS do? So DNS translates the name to the IP address, right? So let me do a flush really quick. That did kick back something different. That kicked me back an IPv6 IP address, which is, it shouldn't, because you gotta, designate an IPv6. Fuck DNS. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I need to be elevated for that. So let's be elevated. Elevated means you need to be running it as administrator. Well, with administrative rights. So are you getting angry at me, computer? What just happened, computer? Thank you, computer. It's angry. So I'm just doing ipconfig / flush DNS. This cleans out my DNS cache. So it says it was flushed. So now let's see. It's going to go. If it does kick back, it'll be okay. But FE80 is actually a loop back, right? So I think that's coming back from my own IPv6 stuff here. So it's not talking how it was before, though, right? Last time it was giving us a 192.168 IP address, right? So now it's giving us some crazy stuff. So the reason why the pin-in that works is because it doesn't use DNS. I'm going directly to the IP address. So I don't need DNS for using the IP address, for the IP address to work correctly. I do need the subnet masks to be set correctly on my computer, though. So if I change that and put it back to how it should be, this should respond with what I want it to respond with. Yes, you can ping IPs without DNS, but you can't ping the name because there's no name address translation occurring without the DNS. So, and it's that address that it's giving me, it's probably picking that up from the actual what I did put in there. So let me go to properties, and I'm going to make another change to it. I'm just going to put nothing in here, okay? I'm going to put nothing. I'm going to come back to here. Let me go to my one that has elevated privileges, and I'm going to rerun the flush. I'm going to come back here. I'm just going to up the arrow again. Let's see. So that's a little bit faster that time. So it's got something stuck somewhere where it's responding with an IPv6. I'm not pinging IPv6. You actually have a designator that you're supposed to put in for it to respond with an IPv6. So I know just seeing that, something goofy's going on. So going back to our settings here, I'll put back what should be here. My number log got shut off on me. And again, I'm going to make sure I flush. I can close that really quick. And I will flush this one right here. I'm just using up arrow key just to repeat the command I previously did. And then I'm just going to go back to this one over here. And let's do a CLS really quick. And up arrow. And see, now it's coming back with an IP address. An IPv4. Now, the reason why it is the 192 again is because that server actually has its network card is set up to be on 2 different networks. So you see how important DNS is. It's letting that name kick back this IP address. So the IP address that we know it as is the 10.10.10.1. And I just want to explain that's because it's set up different. So let me just show you guys really quick why it's coming back that. So we'll come back like that, and I'll come back that. Use some English, Sean, English. Get rid of my full screen. So this is actually this computer right here, which is running on my home computer. And it's a server. It's 2019 server. Oh. And again, this here has nothing to do with what you got to do. I just want you to understand why this is doing that. So this is all your guys' names I set up in here. This is all your guys' users' accounts I did last night. And then coming over here. So this is a 2019 server. So we'll cover this in the next course. This is where we're leading up to. So doing your domain join, locking down your workstations. Your next thing is going to be, okay, how do I set up that server side? So coming over here, my NIC team is going to say multiple IP addresses. And when I come in here and I go to properties, see, I have my 10.10.10.1, 255. So this guy's getting internet from 192.168.0.1. But how's he doing that? How's he getting a default gateway set like that? Well, there's more advanced stuff you can do in here. So, and you'll see here I have the 127.0.0.1. That's because I am my own DNS server. So I can use local loopback to talk to myself. So its DNS server where it's getting information outside of our network is 192.168.0.1, which is the modem. Now, if I click here on advanced, you can see I have another IP address set here, 192.0.200.25. That's letting that one network adapter be on two networks at the same time. So that's also why it's kicking that back. So when we have these numbers written down in our logbook and we know what is actually set on this server, we should know when something's coming back what to expect. So I know that I can get either one of these to pop back. As long as I could talk to it, that's all I need to know, right? If I'm getting a response from that server from a known IP address that my server has, then I'm good to go. So again, that's why I'm getting something back that's not what I'm peening, because it actually is set on that same network card. But it's giving me a response from the DNS, because the DNS has both of those in there, and it's just telling me, okay, well, I set up 192 first. So that's why 192 is kicking back when I peen it. And this is a way you can do multiple networks on one network card where you don't need more than one network card to connect to more than one network. But that's how I was able to achieve putting a gateway that's not in the subnet on the network of the main one. So you see right here, I set the gateway for it. So default gateway is to that. I can also set myself for a gateway, but I don't have network address translation on this server. I do have it on the blocks of knowledge server that we will use when we do stuff for your next class for your server course. This sandbox one is just for you guys to do these labs in this course. So hopefully that explains why that's coming back at 192. I'm going to go back to the one that I was doing the labs on and minimize this really quick. So, but I bet what you guys really want is, where's my screenshot, right? Well, we're already done. We were done when we domain joined, guys. We were done. So I'm going to close that really quick. We fixed everything. We're back where we should be. So for your own notes, if you want to do more screenshots, because remember, when you do this for the exam, you're going to have to write a tutorial on how to do this. Nothing's stopping you from doing that ahead of time. Okay? Nothing's stopping you. So I can come into here, and if it helps you, take a screenshot of your settings. Take notes of what these do, like what I just said. So you can look at this, and you know, I obtain an IP address automatically. This is DHCP. And then this is the static IP address that I gave you guys. And you guys get that number from right here. So if I scroll this down a little bit, 10.0.1. Your number that's beside your name here, right? So that's how that number was achieved from the information given here. And then I just tell you that the default gateway and the DNS, well, it has a server on that, right? So going down here, subnet mask, domain server, and this means that this has DNS, default gateway, creds for domain, or this. I'm giving you information and you need to know where to put it. So hopefully that helps you guys. And I'm going to cut this video right after I show you the screenshot here so that it's not a 2-hour-long video like yesterday. How you feel about that? All right. So let me close that out. I'm going to close that out. So my bare minimum is just going over here. Let me do this full screen just so it looks like what you're going to see. We can right click on this. We can go to settings right here if we want. We're just going to go to that about screen, right? So system. Scroll to the bottom, about. I can make that full screen if I want. And I'm going to minimize that a little bit because remember, I'm doing my screenshot from my host computer here. And that's all I need to see for my screenshot for this hands-on with T-Rex today. So again, this says my computer name, AMSLS-name, my fully qualified domain name. That's what this is right here. It's a fully qualified domain name. So it's got my computer name dot my domain right here, sandbox.local. This is proof that your domain joined right there. That's why this screenshot right here is what I'm accepting, that you did all of those tasks, because it wouldn't work without that. And I've just shown you that, and I've just proven that. So hopefully this helps you guys out, and that you can do this on your own today. I will be helping you today. I will not be helping you on the exam. And remember, this was to prepare you. This is your sandbox time. This is your play time in here. So let me get this in front, and we'll just do one last look at what we're preparing for. So this is what we did here. Not much different than what you're going to do on your exam. Day 2 on your exam. Domania right here. Same thing. I just say stuff a little bit different. Domain name, sandbox.local. That's what you just did, right? Sandbox.local. Server name, domain server. The exam server has Active Directory, domain services, and DNS on it. That's telling you that it's the domain server and that it has DNS. So if it has DNS, then your server IP address is going to be your DNS address. It's also going to be your gateway and everything. So moving down, your task is to join the domain, sandbox.local, on Win2, built in Exam 1. Remember, in Exam 1, you're going to make Win1, Win2, and you're going to migrate exactly like we just did yesterday. Coming on down, your credentials are your first initial last name, which I just told you I've already created for you guys. So you can use those after you use the student account to join the computer. You're not going to be able to use them before, because you're going to have to change your password. So moving on down here, your names will be here, the same ones that you had before. Again, I haven't updated this one yet. I'm going to update this one later with the numbers I have in your task for today. And then coming on down here, same thing you're doing right now with your number next to your name. But in this one, document everything in Word document. That means steps you took and errors you made. Tutorial. You're making a tutorial on to do this. You're not saying, oh, you would do this and type an IP address. No, you're putting detailed exactly what you did, what IP address you did, what problems you ran into. Step by step as you do it. Just write it down as you're doing it. This does not take very long to join a domain. So, and again, you're going to name the file. This again, this isn't for the days. This isn't for 2 days. This is just showing you this is what you're going to do for your exam. You're seeing your exam before you do it. So you're using this time to prep so you know how to do this when you do it. Because I am not going to help you unless your machine breaks on your exam. So, and again, I show you how to name it, but everything you do is named the same, right? Your name and then the assignment you're working on, right? So, yeah, I shouldn't have to tell you how to name your document or anything by now. You've done enough of them. You've done enough keywords. You should be good to go. Now, if you do notice, did you notice the point values on your labs? So each one of these is 500 points in your labs. So just keep in mind, your labs that you did and you certify were 100 points per lesson. So that's 800 points total. So that's why you don't have time now and you certify to do you certify in class. You are doing this stuff in class. You're not doing your you certify. You're working on this. Tomorrow we're going to do day 3. Tomorrow is going to be, we're going to do backups. We're going to do the Windows backup. We're going to do System Protect. We're going to do history. So that's tomorrow's. We got to keep this train moving. Well, tomorrow, I mean the next day of class, right? The next work day tomorrow. All right. So I am done recording. So you guys are free to start working on it or working on stuff from yesterday that you didn't finish. Let me minimize this and kill the recording and upload it for you. And later I'll find some time maybe this weekend to edit these recordings and condense them.